Here is my official Patreon. Please join it because there are many stuffs that I can't share here because of community guidelines. But on my Patreon page, you will get adult Harry stories, Naruto, and Deca 2. Also the quick access for other parts of my story which might take time on YouTube. Also there are many stuffs you will get here. Please consider joining my Patreon. Link in the description.
What if Ino was taken by Naruto every day? You betcha, because I retyped this 3 times because I kept forgetting to save or doing it wrong. This would have been longer if I hadn't forgotten the stuff that got deleted. If this isn't the pairing you wanted, I'm planning on doing a one-shot album eventually, with basically every pairing I can think of. And, whichever one-shot gets the most feedback will be elaborated on. So watch out for that. Disclaimer, I don't own Naruto. I'll only do a hilarious disclaimer if I happen to think of one. Why? Gaara won't die. I knew Kishimoto-sama wouldn't kill him off. Chapter 1, Sasuke, Sasuke. Sasuke, Sasuke, Sasuke. Why does everyone like Sasuke? A pause, during which a menacing grumble is heard. Arf. Everyone. He's such a jerk. A faint voice sounded through the walls of Naruto's apartment. Can it, Naruto, it said. Naruto stopped in his internal, although not really, debate over why a jerk like Uchiha Sasuke was so well liked, while he wasn't. Why only me? But Naruto knew why only him. Only him because he was a Jinchuriki, SP, but not, because Gaara was too. He felt mildly guilty for a time. Everyone knew Gaara was worse off. Gaara had no friends, no one to protect him, hell, even Akatsuki had gone after him first. Yes, Gaara had gotten the worse end of the deal, from not being able to sleep to having nothing to occupy him while he was always awake. It made Naruto angry that they were treated like that. Gaara had had no choice in the matter, and was continually attacked for it, and Naruto himself was supposed to be regarded as a hero. Did it not occur to the people of Leaf Village that, Naruto thought angrily, they were insulting the 4th Hokage by not respecting his death wish? By that time, Naruto realized he had been making excuses. Now, he was not angry at the villagers, not even Sasuke. He was angry at the 4th Hokage, for choosing him to save the village, to contain the Kyuubi vessel. Why? Why Naruto? Why did Naruto inherit all of the detrimental effects of the demon fox? He was sure the blasted thing had stunted his growth. Even at the ripe age of 16, he was barely 1 inch taller than most girls in the village, and practically a midget compared to the other boys. And what girl would want to date an annoying loudmouth midget when she could date tall, serious, handsome Sasuke or genius Shikamaru who was so cool by sacrificing himself for a cause during missions? And Neji, cold, aloof, noble Neji who was beaten down because his father was born second, poor, beautiful Neji. Naruto conveniently forgot that the only reason he could claim to be taller than the girls was his sunny, spiky blonde hair. Which brings us back to why Naruto was cursing the Uchiha heir so vehemently. Well, maybe not, but you wanted to know that anyway, right? Scaredy cat. Dobe. Dead last. Loser. Moron. Yujiratanki. Earlier that day, Naruto had gone to meet Team 7 for a reunion, even though Team 7 had disbanded when they had become Chunin. Sasuke had deigned to come to this meeting even though he was an Avenger, and Avengers just didn't attend reunions, to humor Kakashi, who had lost all of his close friends in the course of missions and was, naturally, lonely. Not to disregard Mato Guy, but meaningful conversations between the two consisted of Guy posing and claiming that if he didn't defeat Kakashi this time, he would run 500 laps around the village perimeter on his arms, and Kakashi sighing and either attempting to escape, waiting for a convenient distraction to divert Guy's attention, and if he was feeling generous, favoring Guy with a short challenge, which Kakashi usually won anyhow. Because of this, Kakashi usually spent his free time pestering his only genin team or reading Ika Ika Paradisu. When Naruto had arrived at the bridge, he enthusiastically greeted his rival, and was re-weared with a nod and a quiet grunt. He had then entertained the fancy that Sasuke didn't really know how to speak the human language and spent his time consorting with pigs, and had covered his mouth in a lame attempt to disguise his laughter. Sasuke noticed Naruto laughing at him and rudely asked what he was laughing about. Naruto, who was not quite stupid enough to say what he was really thinking, had declared, "I'm just imagining how I'm going to kick your butt next time we fight, Sasuke." Notice how Naruto is not using the impolite suffix, team, in conjunction with Sasuke's name. "HN, whatever, Naruto Baka," had been the brunette's reply. Take notice, again, how Sasuke instigated the ensuing argument. "Baka. WW-. Cat got your tongue, scaredy cat?" Sasuke team. Naruto roared. How dare he? At least, Sakura wasn't here to witness this battle of wits. "That's not really all you can think of, is it, Dobe?" Sasuke was gleeful. You wouldn't know it to look at him, but he was filled with unadulterated happiness. "Tiami." Naruto's voice was becoming slightly strangled. They hadn't actually seen each other in months, not exchanged words in almost a year. Why was Sasuke acting like they were 12 years old again? "TCH, guess that cat really did get to you, dead last. Or maybe you're just getting slow to do this." Sasuke supposed he should feel bad to take advantage of Naruto like that. He would have done the same thing had Sakura arrived first, but Naruto seemed to always have bad luck. Bad luck that Sasuke had to unload his frustration over Itachi on him. Naruto was becoming speechless. Quickly and methodically, as was Sasuke's way, he was insulted with every mean and embarrassing name he had been subject to at the hands, or mouth, of the young Uchiha. He just didn't understand. In the midst of all this, Sakura arrived. What did Naruto do this time, Sasuke-kun? So assuming, she always was. HNN. Sakura's head whirled around in a splay of pink. "Naruto, quit bothering Sasuke. You probably deserve this, anyway." Oh, joy. He had missed getting yelled at for no reason. Really, he had. No, really. Really. Naruto's eyes had narrowed at the two of them, but stopped before Sakura could yell at him again. Sasuke quit in his attack of Naruto with someone else around, and the three stood at the bridge for several hours, punctuated only by Sakura asking Sasuke how he'd been. But not Naruto. Never Naruto. When Kakashi eventually showed up, he had given his customary bullshit excuse. "Got lost on the road of life for real, this time, guys. So I'm afraid we'll have to reschedule." He vanished with a hand seal and a poof before any of the trio could react. "Hot date, huh?" Sakura stated. But she wasn't all that upset. Kakashi had given her an excuse to spend time with Sasuke-kun. Even if Naruto had to be there. Naruto couldn't take it. He had had to endure that for absolutely no reason. What the fuck was wrong with Kami today? Why couldn't Sasuke see that he wasn't that annoying dobe of 4 years ago? That they were equals, no matter how witty Sasuke was and he still wasn't? Couldn't Sasuke see that their friendly rivalry was being strained by his childish refusal to see how things had changed? They were Chunins, damn it. With a wave and a ja, he took off for home to vent his frustrations, by yelling. Yamanaka Ino, on the other hand, was blissful. The one, the only, Uchiha Sasuke had just walked past her family's flower shop, with Sakura right beside him. Practically hanging off his left arm, to be precise. And you know what? He had done the most wonderful thing ever. It was the most beautiful thing a girl could possibly see. He had called Sakura, it appeared, a big forehead and annoying. As in, both. None of that namby-pamby it makes me wanna kiss it crap. Piss off, pure and simple. Instead of making a move on Sasuke as most fangirls would, however, she went back to tending the displays within the store. Ino was not stupid, she knew Sasuke was prickly, and if he went off on his ex-teammate, she didn't want to know what would happen to her. All she needed to know was that her biggest rival in the battle for Sasuke-kun's heart was out of the running. Sakura could go revive dead fish or something for all Ino cared. Sasuke's scowl increased and he ambled away from the crestfallen cotton candy head. He didn't understand why she was so surprised. He had made it perfectly clear when they were teammates that he wanted nothing to do with her outside of ninja duties. There was absolutely no reason for that to change the way she wanted it now. Sasuke's only responsibility was to protect a fellow ninja if he or she needed help, and he was no longer obligated to help her out for the sake of Kakashi-sensei's teamwork. At present, he had no desire to begin a relationship. He was much too preoccupied with training for the Jounin exams. He was already several years behind Itachi. Sasuke knew full well that he could die. He didn't intend to, of course, but if the high-level missions he planned to take on didn't kill or maim him, Itachi could. Itachi was a monster. But Sasuke would at the very least take Itachi out with him. Besides, if he didn't die, he wouldn't take a ninja for a wife. Everyone knew that ninja babies had a high mortality rate, and Sasuke would need a healthy wife, or 3, capable of bearing many children. 2 or 3 babies would not revive the Uchiha clan. Sasuke had a plan. He would marry and take on mistresses. No one would mind, he was the precious Uchiha, the last. He would father many children, and he would stay at home to protect his family from anyone who would bring ruin to the Uchiha clan. Sasuke could do this. He would earn money from his current missions, and he had hardly tapped the resources of the vast dead clan, of all the Uchihas. His plan would work. True, it was a foolish plan, for anyone else, but he compound Uchiha, the Uchiha, and nothing he did could go wrong. Sasuke continued to walk away from Sakura and didn't look back. He wandered about, where, exactly, he knew, but not what to call it. Not home, certainly. The living place of the late Uchihas had ceased to be home to Sasuke the evening he had come home to find his parents dead on the floor, bathing in their own blood. Perhaps, abode would be more fitting. Or dwelling. No, habitat, the others sounded too affectionate. Presently, he arrived at the Uchiha compound. That place that had once thrived, filled to the brim with a powerful, influential clan. Where everything possible, from wall hangings to furniture to body parts had been emblazoned with the proud colors of the red and white family Uchiha. But now the people were all gone away, to their new homes, in the family plot, and the once vivid red had dulled and the pure white grayed. Now, all Sasuke lived in were reds and grays. When he walked about, he could still see the crimson that painted the large area over the dull grays, like the corpses were still strewed about in a negligent manner, like they had been performing some macabre dance before they dropped to the ground, dead at the hands of Uchiha Itachi. Sasuke observed the red on gray on red as he traipsed through his family's blood, toward the manor, where he still resided. He strode through the halls, in a memorized pattern to avoid the place of most horror, where the red still was, as crimson as the day it was spilt. He stayed well away from the places he never went, as a prodigy could never stray. Except for the prodigal son, who had, just once, and had never come back but one time, not to reconcile, but to seal the deed. Sasuke came to a room cloaked in gray. He stood in the doorway, and allowed the power, the strength that emanated from the walls, the bed sheets, to envelope him, to pressure his mind and remind him of the task he never forgot. Here was absolute safety. In this room, no one had died. In Itachi's room, no one could die. Sakura stood on the street, her head hanging low. It was over. All over. Sasuke had, in a sense, disowned her. Why would I want to be with an annoying big forehead weakling like you? And why would he? She was only a pathetic medic neen. As if Sasuke-kun would need her help. Oh, the shame. Sakura had lost her purpose in life, to measure up to Sasuke's standards. And if she hadn't even come close by now, she never would. No amount of Tsunade-sama's training would help. And even as she thought it, her subconscious knew that the shame was a sham. By tomorrow, she would have convinced herself that the incident had all but never happened. Sasuke didn't mean the cruel words he had said to her, he was just stressed. Stressed and misunderstood. And why shouldn't he be? He had survived the Uchiha massacre, grown to adolescence pestered by those other girls constantly, dealt with being on the same team as that annoying jerk and all the troubles that went along with it. Naruto had only been holding Sasuke back, and surely that had frustrated him. But for right now, Sakura felt like she should cry. She didn't, ninja were taught not to reveal emotion, and she didn't have so little control that she would burst out sobbing in a public place. Sakura stood with her head down for a few more moments, steeling herself for the sympathetic or triumphant stares sure to greet her. Until, that is, she heard humming. Normally, one would expect humming to make someone happy, but Sakura, that was not her way. And, now, she was taking notice of where she was. Slowing turning her head, which was still hanging down, she came face to window with the Yamanaka flower shop. And, one blonde pig working inside. The source of the humming. The blonde bitch was innocently cleaning, picking up pots to clean away spilt dirt and sprucing the petals and leaves, rearranging the bouquets, humming all the while. But Sakura knew better. Ino didn't particularly dislike working in her parents' shop, but she didn't like it enough to hum either. She claimed that the aromas made her sneeze from time to time in the spring or when it was windy during the summer or early fall, but everyone knew she didn't really mean it. Since giving up her status as an active kunoichi, Ino had dedicated her time to arranging various flowers, all sizes and colors. The rumors were that Ino had been satisfied with the results of the first Chunin exam, and she didn't feel that her skills were improving enough. Well, it was about time that Ino realized Sakura was better. Are you fucking laughing at me, bitch? Sakura's chakra-enforced feet made small craters in the ground. Are you fucking laughing? She slammed her palms into the large glass window of the display. A shower of broken glass, stems and flower petals struck and sliced at Ino's fair skin. Or rather, it would have, provided Ino hadn't moved. As it was, she had still suffered numerous shallow cuts on her back. What the hell? You think you can fucking rob my store? Ino stood up and a lavish amount of petals fluttered to the ground. An big forehead? What are you doing trashing my shop? She leaned back, hands on her hips, and laughed. You don't really think you won't have to pay for this, do you? Sakura growled and her shoulders shook. Stop laughing at me. Ino's arms dropped to her sides and her face gained a confused expression. Crap, did she hear me? You bitch. Sakura charged forward and swung her fist blindly at Ino. You can't have Sasuke-kun. The punch grazed Ino's cheek as she dropped to the side. Sakura. Stop that. Ino, on her backside, began to move her legs and propel herself backwards. Sakura stopped and stumbled, her assault finished. She fell to the ground, inches from Ino's feet. Ino, you can't even watch the shop for a few hours without getting in trouble? Ino's mother and father stood in front of the broken window, the former with her arms still positioned to knock the Haruno out. He. Sheepishly, Ino patted the back of her head to remove any stray plant parts. She only cut her hand on a shard of the window. To be continued. My other FIC is on hiatus, for now. You know why? Because I didn't get enough reviews. But since so many of you had been rooting for a head FIC, I expect better results. Not because I'm pissy but because you love me. Capiche? If you have questions, ask in a review. Fish are good for your brain. 1 Why? Why do I do this to myself? R. This chapter got part of it deleted too, MWWWHH. It was 7 pages. 4 are Gunuan. Well, not for you, I retyped what I remembered. But it was better before. Sorry. Fui. This story is in AC2. Yay. But wait, is it run by homophobes? I will not abide this. Meteorine, you get a cookie for being my first reviewer. And a cookie with lots of giant chocolate chips at that, for not judging my FIC quite yet but giving me your opinion. The Spore Whore, hee. Love your username. Thanks for the compliments, and I'm waiting for an update on Laughter is the Best Medicine. Can't remember if I reviewed it or not, funny, seeing as I'm always clamoring for them. Sajita no Tom, what exactly are you sympathetic about? I can think of a number of things, several of them embarrassing, blushes in shame, and I don't blame you for thinking the title is lame. It is. I had typed the first chapter and wanted to post it right away, so I made up a bullshit title for it. If anyone wants a new title, tell me your idea in a review. Because, seriously, this one sucks major ass. Warning, blatant use of English and Japanese together. I use both mother and ka-san, and father and ota-san. And some other simple words. Disclaimer, I do not own Naruto-san or his little friends. No matter how hot they are. Pooh. Chapter 2, Fish are good for your brain. Now, Ino-kun, tell me why Sakura-san went berserk on our shop window. Ino's ka-san gently prodded. Her ota-san stood behind his wife, nodding patiently and acting supportive in general. But not speaking was not the place of the husband on such matters. I don't know, ka-san. Ino kept her face stoically composed. Because, in truth, she wasn't completely sure. She understood that Sakura had been upset at whatever Sasuke had said to her, and even more so at Ino's inexplicable happiness, but Ino did not understand why, exactly. Why did Sakura value Sasuke most? Why had Ino helped her from the bullies, to gain confidence, to discover her beauty? Why had Ino chosen a deluded freak for a best friend? Why was Ino, who had supported Sakura in every way, not important enough when compared with Sasuke, who only threw insults and shuriken at his admirers? Ino had been perfectly willing to battle out the rights for Sasuke's heart as friends. But why hadn't Sakura? Perhaps, Sakura had decided to be in it till the death, and friends had no space in her world, which was only for her and Sasuke. Are you sure? Ino? That patient voice again. Well, I think she said something about laughing. She had been walking with Sasuke before. Ino would not abide Sakura's foolish behavior anymore. She wasn't stupid, she wouldn't fight. Passive resistance. Like she would stand a chance against Sakura in a fair fight now, anyway. Ino's mother sighed. That would be it, of course. Uchiha Sasuke-san was the village's most eligible bachelor, a powerful ninja, and exceedingly handsome, but he was inadvertently a troublemaker. If only he wasn't so pretty, there would be less competition amongst the younger Kunoichi, her daughter and her once best friend, included. She could only thank Kami-sama that Ino had given up on gaining the young Uchiha's affections through violence. You should be more careful around her, Ino-kun. You know how volatile she can be. With that, Ino's mother set off towards the shop to begin repairs. Ino-chan, we should go, too. We wouldn't want Sakura-san to wake up and find us outside her house. Ino's father winked conspiratorially. They've been outside the Haruno residence, by the way. Hi, Tu-san. How about getting some ramen? That conspiratorial look again. Tu-san. I can't, it's not on my diet. Ino cried, scandalized. Sushi, then? Maybe. A recent article in the newspaper said fish is good for your brain. It was a blurry sight that Sakura opened her eyes to. A blurry, blurry sight. Why were all the colors so blurry? It might help if you opened your eyes all the way, dear. Ah, one of the blurs was moving its mouth. Wait, the blur wasn't really a blur at all, it was Sakura's Ka-san. Unu. Ka-san, how did I get here? Sakura chose not to finish her thought and blushed. She remembered what she had done before she had blanked out. And if she was home, then it was likely that her mother knew as well. You don't remember? Well, Yamanaka-san and her husband brought you here. Unconscious. Do you remember why? Ooh, the expectant, but not judgmental voice, the bane of all teenagers. Sakura wasn't quite prepared to say it herself. You wrecked their store. Broke their window and destroyed many displays as well as a goodly amount of their stock. And apparently they found you about to demolish their daughter. Sounds right, Annie? The voice was getting a little more forceful every time. Hi. Sakura admitted meekly. And you know what? They aren't even going to press charges. They are going to pay all the damages themselves. They even carried you home after bandaging your self-inflicted injuries. Sakura's mother enunciated every word, saturated them with particular meaning. I'm sorry, Ka-san. I must have lost control. Every word Sakura said, however, did not. She was not sorry, she did not lose control. She was the smartest in her class, everything she did nowadays was deliberate. Yes, well. Haruno-san began, until she noticed. Sakura's vision was getting hazy. She was dizzy, she felt sick, she leaned back into the pillows. Sakura, Sakura, resonated through her ears, reverberating on her eardrums. Don't fall asleep, Sakura, the voice, the blurry woman leaning over her. Bitch. Sakura said, quietly, muttered, no one should be able to hear it, the insult was said so quietly. Her eyes began to close. The pink eyelashes rimming the mint-green irises imposed on her vision. She didn't see the shocked and offended expression coating her mother's face liberally, like the makeup on an elderly prostitute. So appalling. Sakura was hurt? Kakashi asked, his voice full of concern for his former student. Oh, not really, just some lacerations on her upper arm and maybe a bruise. Hi, Yamanaka-san, the elder female counterpart, giggled giddily. I should check up on her. Kakashi said thoughtfully. A pity, he would have to break off his date with cute Kashir-chan. She wouldn't really mind, though, he thought. Any girl cheap enough to accept a date with a guy who bought porno from her regularly couldn't have very high standards. Oh, but won't you stay for some tea, Kakashi-kun? You work so hard and, Yamanaka-san frantically cast about for some excuse. Her husband, in the corner patching the broken window with plastic, raised his eyebrow at the suffix. Of course, Kakashi had been the Uchiha Sasuke of his generation. Even the elder women, such as Ino Yamanaka's mother, had giggled over his handsome appearance. Until he had taken to wearing a mask, that is. Then, women of all ages had decided to swoon over his looks and his prodigious skills as a ninja. Why, they had all dreamed of marrying him. In fact, Yamanaka-san was entertaining the thought that Ino could carry out her dream of marriage to Hatake Kakashi. It wasn't strange, a mother wanting her daughter to carry out her dream from her glory days, and the age difference wasn't so much. It was only 16 years. In the more prominent clans, people were married to their relatives and to individuals old enough to be their grandparents. Maybe some other time, Yamanaka-san. No. Boo, but, Kakashi-kun, can't you just, she stuttered. No, Kakashi sighed, I appreciate the offer, Yamanaka-san, but I really must be going. I have previous engagements in addition to checking up on my student. He heaved another sigh. He only had 3 students, after all. I might stop by some other time, then. When I need flowers. Ja. He ducked out a corner of the window that hadn't been sealed with plastic as of yet. Sometimes, a mother's dreams just weren't meant to come true. Some hours later after his initial outburst, Naruto was still simmering. Not that he wasn't, always. People had a funny way of mistaking an inordinate amount of cheerfulness with offense. Particularly when it was their fault. Naruto decided that he was hungry. He hadn't eaten since breakfast, as he hadn't stopped for lunch after running home. It was nearing 8 o'clock. It had taken him several hours to calm down enough to contemplate eating. Rather pathetic, if you asked him. Sasuke never got that angry. He strode into the kitchen, still slightly angry. So it was with anger that he took out several packs of ramen, and ripped them open. With anger that he took an enormous measuring cup, more like a bowl, and poured the appropriate amount of water in, and heated it up for several minutes. It was with anger that he dumped the contents of the foam cups into a oversized mixing bowl, and poured the water in when it was done. Still stirring the steaming mass, Naruto trekked the 10 steps to the love seat positioned in front of his TV. He plopped down, and fancied himself a couch potato. Maybe he should quit the whole ninja business. The village didn't want him getting any stronger than he already was, and the idea of the mountains of paperwork that went along with his dream of Hokage wasn't so appealing either. He could just stay at home with his stuff, the stuff he loved. His tattered scrolls, his faded couch, his out-of-date television set, his almost faulty refrigerator. Naruto loved these worthless things. It was because they were worthless that he loved them. No one would try to take them from him. They were some of the clutter that hadn't been taken from him as the victim of cruel pranks or maliciousness. Maybe I should take Iruka-sensei out for ramen, Naruto said aloud, randomly. Completely off topic, ridiculously so. But he should anyway, he needed to get out more. He had already spent too long brooding over why Sasuke was so well liked, and he was starting to pick up characteristics of the jerk. Iruka-sensei gave up so much for Naruto, constantly taking him out and spending time with him, even giving up his reputation at large to help him grow up properly. So sad that it hadn't really worked. Naruto was still loud, annoying, sloppy, whiny, and depressed. Luckily, Iruka-sensei had immunized himself to those qualities, so he could imagine them away. Or he'd have had a hissy fit. Naruto picked up the remote, luckily the batteries weren't dead, and turned on a soap opera. No man was complete without his stories. Bet you'd forgotten that he was sitting in front of his TV. Aw man, brat, I thought you would have picked something good, really good. The demon fox complained. Naruto didn't know why the Kyuubi had gained the sudden ability to complain to him, but he brushed it off as a figment of his imagination. Kami, didn't his imagination know that he didn't order those kinds of channels? He heaved up the gargantuan bowl of ramen and poured a liberal amount into his gaping mouth. Some broth dribbled down his chin and onto the white tee he wore under his customary jacket. Then, Naruto let out a truly fantastic belch. Ew, gross. Fuck you, imagination. Naruto thought. Then he thought about what he wanted to do. What had he to do? Training? What for? And no missions would be assigned to him for a while. He had no real friends, and couldn't burden Iruka-sensei with his constant, clinging presence. Naruto decided after a bit that he would sleep. Teenagers needed lots of sleep, and asleep was when he was happiest. Dream sequence for those of you who are dumbass. Naruto sat by his window, looking out at the forest where the twilight just barely left enough sunlight to see by. He scratched at the screen with a fingernail, imagined that he could call the forest animals to him, so he would be special. And they came out of the forest, and Naruto was shocked because he had not really thought they would come, but they did, a dozen of them, a baker's dozen. They slunk up to the wall of the building, mewling and calling to Naruto. Naruto dreaded them, in the pit of his stomach, like he knew they wanted to do something to him, something he would not like, something that made his skin itch and crawl. Like they wanted to breed with him, out of him, through him, and Naruto didn't want that. Naruto turned away from the window, nervously, hopefully, inconspicuously, and ducked down so the foxes couldn't see him anymore. They couldn't follow him around from the outside, looking through the windows and screen doors, couldn't get in and do that to him. Crouching, Naruto began to run through his crowded house, because everyone he knew, friends and family were there. A party. Running, Naruto was running down a hall in his home. In his dream, his apartment had changed to include parts of the complex in which he lived. In his dreams, the staircases were narrower, and he was in constant danger of falling when he ran up them because they were lower as well. His feet stuck to the floors. Kakashi Ota-san, don't drink that, you'll get alcohol poisoning. Naruto raced up the stairs to where Kakashi, his father, was drinking a non-alcoholic beverage. Beer, maybe. 9th bottle. Or 6. 666. Don't drink that. Kakashi-san, don't let him, he'll die, don't you care, why are you letting him do that, why oh why? Outside, the plethora of foxes prowled around the house, their eyes gleaming with lust. Naruto spun around, and swung around the banister, to do something, he knew he had to do it. He came back to a staircase, similar to the one from before, wooden planking with a carved banister of the same dark wood as the low-slung narrow steps. Sasuke was sitting on them, a few stairs from the top, and Naruto needed to get up them. Move, Sasuke, move. No, Dove, love, I won't move, you'll have to get around me. Sasuke reached out his arms as if to embrace Naruto, and Naruto tried to rear back, but felt himself toppling forward, out of his control. His feet and legs were sluggish as he tried to twist out of the way, but it was useless. All Naruto's ministrations earned him was an awkward fall. He crashed into Sasuke's lap, falling on his shoulder and facing the wall, falling off of Sasuke's lap. Ha, Naruto. You fell, what else would I expect? Sasuke laughed and whispered in Naruto's ear, which turned red, so tomatoey red that it burned. Yada. He pushed himself up and stumbled around Sasuke, up the stairs. They plateaued and Naruto tripped on the last step, nearly falling flat on his face but for his arms which struggled to hold him partially upright. He was weak, he wasn't strong, he acknowledged without remorse. Asuma, holding a bottle of beer, saluted the fallen boy. A number of other lumberjack-like ninja milled about in no formation, socializing and getting in the way. Sakura giggled while curled up in a corner with Ino and Hinata while Rock Lee pranced in a semicircle to serenade them. Naruto stumbled to his feet, across the room, the wooden room. This place, his home, when had it become so like cottage in the woods? When had it gained balcony with steps running down to the ground? He wandered out onto that balcony, planked and boarded over like everything else. He could hear the distant murmur of deep pleasant chatter through the glass doors. Orochimaru laughed, and the foxes howled. Naruto began to run, taking the low steps downward 3 at a time, leaping and jumping in his earnest to escape. He reached the ground and ran, across a clearing in the twilight, away from the woods with cool autumn air caressing his cheeks until he was running uphill, steeply uphill on a sidewalk. It was the early morning hours, everything was gray but it still seemed as warm as it had been in the wooden house. Some feet away at a cafe along the strip of shops on the hill that Naruto had been running up, Kakashi took a final swig of his non-alcoholic beer and collapsed out of his chair. His neck was swollen, like it would burst. Naruto rushed up to him, feet sticking and legs stumbling. Does anyone have a phone? Call a doctor. Help him. He grabbed the older man by the armpits, began to drag him out of the cafe, down the hill and on the sidewalk. Everyone stared, they looked and stared impassively but sympathetically in that way that makes you sick. Can't you see he's got alcohol poisoning? Don't just stare. Frantic. But we're only an exhibit. Only to be stared at, so why not? Naruto frantically heaved and tugged at Kakashi Oda-san, moved him a few more feet, like he did when he was rearranging his furniture in his room and the dresser was too heavy to move all at once. Ira Kaka-san. Help, call the hospital. Why won't you help? Teary eyes that don't understand, can't comprehend. Anger. He cheated, Naruto, there is no room for cheaters here. Irika glared, out of character, as if he had won to begin with. Why would he do that? Didn't he know that the whole point was to cheat, that was the only way to win? Kakashi hacked up phlegm and died. His head lolled back. Naruto woke up and the foxes howled. In the darkness of the wishing hour, Naruto's eyes snapped open. The lights from the old television flashed, but he didn't know why. The volume was turned down. Naruto rolled onto his side and fell off the couch onto his hands and knees, and the mixing bowl clattered to the ground on the wooden floors and threadbare rugs. A dribble of leftover broth dripped onto the floor. What was that? Naruto gasped. He was still fearful of those foxes, those lustful demon foxes, but he understood his fear now that he could think about it. It was not the foxes, or what they had wanted to do to him, or what Sasuke had been like in his dream or anything else that he was afraid of. It was the consequences. Would the consequences of his being alive be a bloody murder by the villagers? He looked at the clock on the VCR, 3 o'clock a.m. Naruto's eyes hardened, and in the darkness glowed red. They won't kill me. Those damn villagers won't get me. He stood with his muscles tensed, his arms at his sides. No time like the present, he would go to the forest. Go to the edge of Konohagakure and train. All that Naruto did before he left was to change his ratty clothes and gather his weapons. After he left, a tiny brown mouse scavenged the remains of his dinner that was still laying on the floor where it had fallen. 6 o'clock p.m., before Naruto's scene happens. It was, yet again, blurry when Sakura awoke. And, again, there were blurry shapes hovering above her. But, they were different from last time. Oh most lovely Sakura-chan, are you alright? Lee cried, his round eyes filling up with unshed tears, his lower eyelashes standing out more prominently than ever. Did Sasuke hurt you? Are you injured? I shall, from now on, protect your youthful beauty. If I do not, I will hop around the village perimeter 10 times on my tongue. His hands fisted, his body full of vigor. That's alright, Lee, you don't have to do that. Sakura. Yeah. Kakashi-sensei. What are you doing here? Sakura jumped, she hadn't noticed her former teacher. Kakashi sweated. Wasn't it obvious? Just checking up on my student, Baka. Oh. Sakura said. She felt rather foolish, of course her sensei would be concerned. Kakashi was clingy like that. Are you alright? He asked. He obviously wanted to know what happened. Oh, I'm fine, just lost my temper a little bit, not even hurt. Sakura fluttered her hands. These two, weirdos, by her bed. She would be more upset if she didn't know they were only concerned for her. Even if one was a creepy loving way and one was parental. The door opened and Haruno-san stuck her head in. Hataki-san, Rock-san, I have some tea for you. She cut herself off when she saw her daughter, awake. She curtly set the tray down and left. And, Rock-san. Sounds weird. Sakura blinked once, blinked twice. For all her intellect she could not fathom why her mother was so warm to their guests but so cold to her daughter. In the kitchen of the Yamanaka household, Ino felt her brain get ripped out of her skull. Quite brutally, too. Ino-kun. Ino's mother sang. Oh. Bad things always happened when her mother was singing. Really, horribly, bad things. Yes, Ka-san? Ino cautiously asked. In these cases, it was best to say as little as possible so that she wouldn't get stuck with some obligation. You know, I was thinking. Crap. Thinking was bad. Since you're not a kunoichi anymore, you need someone to protect you. What's your point, Ka-san? Warning bells were going off in Ino's head. Hell, all over her body, like a belly dancer. I think you should get a boyfriend. Preferably Hataki Kakashi-kun. Heh. Ka-san. I don't want a boyfriend. I'm saving myself for Uchiha-san. Ino completely bypassed the second part of her mother's statement. Until she doubled back. What? Hataki-san is way too old for me. I'm not giving up Sasuke for an old geezer. Ino shrieked. How utterly appalling that her mother thought she would consider that. Ino, don't foolish. You're only young once, and anyone with half a brain can see that all that Uchiha boy has going for him is looks. Besides, I know myself that Kakashi-kun is just as handsome as that boy anyway, beneath his mask. Yamanaka-san scolded. But. Ino stuttered. How could she compete with that? Sasuke did have the personality of a snow pea. Just think on it for a bit. You'll see that I'm right. The older woman smiled gently and patted Ino on the back. Behind his newspaper, Ino's Oto-san snorted, a habit he had come to embrace after years of living with his wife. That woman was so conniving that their conniving little daughter couldn't figure it out. Sasuke wrenched his eyes open. Well, perhaps not wrenched. Wrenched implied effort, a thing not employed by Sasuke when he opened his eyes. Rather, they drifted open quickly, more of a snap. He found himself laying on Itachi's bed again, a habit he had tried to break at first but now accepted, even encouraged. Sasuke imagined that he was Itachi, the prodigy, the strongest. Then he imagined dying. So that Itachi would die, feel that Sasuke Ototo wanted him to die. Those cursed Manjikyu Sharingan would burn and dry and wither so Sasuke could laugh at the helpless Itachi. Laugh while he stood over him, laugh while Itachi was blind and his empty eye sockets bled and bled and bled. So that Sasuke could get over Itachi. Sasuke felt himself growing ever closer to Itachi's level. Every minute he spent in Itachi's room was spent analyzing how Itachi thought, absorbing his brutal brilliance, the power radiating from every object enveloping him. Soaking in, so it could never get away. Never. He looked out the window, where the sun shone in blood red. But not the crimson of the fluid that soaked the grounds where Sasuke lived. This red was different, deeper, redder, angrier. Had this driven Itachi mad in his quest for power? No matter. Sasuke decided that he was hungry. At present the inner workings of Itachi's mind were inconsequential. Sasuke needed to plan, to stake out potential candidates to continue the Uchiha line. The woman couldn't be a kunoichi. The muscles that every ninja possessed were not an ideal place to grow a baby, Sasuke thought as he traveled to the kitchen. He passed a particularly large splattered on the ground. And walls. All-encompassing. He continued in his mind, who did he know that could possibly carry out this mission? A person who kept quiet, a healthy girl. Who did Sasuke know that wasn't a ninja? The only people he associated with were ninja, the only women he knew were kunoichis, either from the Genin Academy or from missions. He arrived at the kitchen. Walked over to the cupboard. Then the refrigerator. And surveyed the counters. It appeared that Sasuke would have to go shopping soon. Instead, he hauled out the large phone book. The one that was slightly outdated. By 8 years. Dialing a number on the old, but not extremely old, telephone, Sasuke mulled over his options. Did he want chicken, or beef? When the phone was picked up, Sasuke immediately ordered curry. And promptly after that, demanded that the person who delivered it be a male. And hung up. The person on the other end of the line sighed. When would the young Uchiha-sama realize that this was not an order-out restaurant? He turned to another employee at the accounting firm. Call Little Prince's curry and set an order for Sasuke Uchiha. The usual. The associate sighed exasperatedly. He really needs to get a new phone book. And to stop ordering out so much. He's gonna get fat. Back in the kitchen, Sasuke wondered why the delivery people weren't afraid to come to the Uchiha compound, with the red stains not faded by age. The answer was this: the stains had not faded, as they had never been there. Uchiha Itachi was not so careless as to leave evidence to the murders for Sasuke to steel himself with. And Sasuke, the Red Room didn't drive Itachi mad. It won't drive you to insane power either. Your obsession will. 3:30 a.m. wishing hour, in the forest. Naruto grinned and another tree shattered. If he kept this up, someone, a jounin on his rounds, perhaps, was bound to notice. Certainly in the morning questions would be asked about the brand new clearing. He would need to move his escapades to a different location. No one could know that he suspected them. Naruto would go searching tomorrow night. To be continued. Woot. Done the second chapter. Just as warning, I won't be sticking to a chapter a week schedule. It might take a week for me to finish a chapter, it might take less. Actually, next chapter might be a while because I'm having a party for my grandparents this weekend and my sisters, one of their boyfriends, and two of my cousins are gonna be here for the entire weekend. Wah, that means I won't be able to watch my lousy dub anime on Saturday because it bothers me to have other people around when I watch it. To make me feel better, gimme a review. Monsters in the Forest. 1. Well, I made this chapter kind of short. For me, anyway. Or maybe, it's average. But I might keep the chapters short, if only to make the plot easier to manage. Oh, by the way, I don't remember if I ever mentioned the season in previous chapters. I looked, but I didn't find anything, but if I did, and I didn't say it was fall, oopsies. I think I did make it fall, but I don't remember, and it's going to be fall now. Fall is my favorite season. Autumnal. Sajita no Tom, you get a cookie castle for being my first reviewer. Last chapter. Ooh, you speak French? I wanted to learn that but I got stuck with Spanish because the people who ran my middle school were wankers. Teehee, about the sympathy thing. Unless you were trying to say that my story sucks, maybe you did use the wrong word. You don't mean that this story sucks, do you? Did you mean that it's sad? I myself find that the way I make a lot of the characters kind of crazy depressing. Metarain, Yayas. Woot. Constructive criticism. Yay. Does jumping jacks, I always think that my stories go slow, but I can't really tell because there's always at least a week in between. Besides, this is only chapter 3. The story will start to pick up by chapter 4 though, I promise. Perumienius. Akalon, shishishishishi. Blushes, why thank you, I'm a bit crazy myself, hahaha. Dimitri of the DIW, yay. My FIC is interesting. You get the Mato Guy badge of coolness. Wow, your pen name confuses me. I looked on your profile, and I sort of get it. But I'm not that smart, so I won't make my brain hurt anymore. Johnny G, thankies. I hope you like what I have planned. By the way, you're a really good artist. Disclaimer. The day I own Naruto is the day I died and went to heaven. Just kidding, I don't really want to have to be the person who does all that drawing and paperwork. I'd rather fantasize about how awesome it would be to be a Naruto character. Wowie, I just figured out where those people who write really bad self-inserts get their ideas. Chapter 3, Monsters in the Forest. Datum. Naruto woke for the second time. Instead of yawning, as one would expect, he lay still with his eyes still closed, a satisfied smile adorning his lips, curling them like a satisfied kitten. Or maybe that was just the whisker marks. He heard a bird twittering outside his window and opened his eyes to glare. He really hated birds, and had no idea why people found their song so amusing. It clearly wasn't. It sounded just like Sasuke, Team's voice and his stupid Chidori. Chi 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 chi, Dorai. It was nearly noon by now. Naruto had trained until 4:30 earlier this morning, at the risk of being discovered by some early rising jounin. Mato Guy had come dangerously close in Naruto's estimation, but no matter, as the eccentric jounin only encouraged training. He wouldn't mention Naruto's escapades to anyone dangerous even if he had noticed. Chi chi chi. Sasuke.